Namaskar friends, welcome to session 15 in the course. We are currently discussing the basic aspects of work study. We have already completed discussion in the first 2 weeks on productivity and tried to understand the basic concept of productivity, the causes of low productivity, the factors affecting productivity, productivity improvement techniques, then certain numerical problems related to productivity and case studies related to improvement of productivity. In the current week, our focus primarily is to understand the basic concept of work study. We have already understood that what do we mean by work study, what are the various tools and techniques of work study, how to define method study, what do we mean by work measurement, and how we can measure the time required for conducting or required for performing a particular task at a defined level of performance. The focus primarily has been to just introduce the concept of method study and work measurement, because we have two complete modules in work study. First one is related to method study. There are different techniques that are used for method study, and we will be focusing on each of these techniques with lot of examples and case study. Similarly, the second important module is the work measurement, in which we will learn all the different techniques that are used for standardizing the time required for doing the work or the task. There are work measurement techniques like stopwatch time study, then there is standard data approach, predetermined motion time systems are there, MTM, MTM1, MTM2. There are standard approaches to find out the time required for performing the task. So broadly our discussion will focus in two directions. First one is method study, second one is work measurement, and we will study all this in detail. In today's session, the target primarily is to highlight the human aspects of work study. There is definitely going to be a challenge when you are going to perform a work study analysis in any organization. Why? Because the workers are accustomed to a particular way or particular sequence, a particular methodology, a particular procedure of doing the task. A person joins maybe in a particular educational institute. He is assigned maybe 1 or 2 courses in the autumn and spring semester, and suppose the faculty member is teaching the same courses over and over again, semester by semester. He gets satisfied with those courses. He gets accustomed to those courses. As soon as there is a change, a new course is assigned to a faculty member, immediately the faculty member will start to show a rebellious behavior, or he may show his or her discontent. Similar is the case in industry also. Workers may be working for the last 10 years following a specific procedure of doing the work, and all of a sudden you start analyzing the work, you start trying to maybe examine the work and propose a new work methodology or propose a new work plan. Immediately there will be a issue. So there is definitely going to be some kind of an issue when you are going to do your work study analysis, or when you are going to perform your work study. So these are human factors which must be taken into account. Secondly, the important point is that when we are taking a decision, the work has to be accomplished. There are two ways of doing the work. First one can be manual, the second one can be with the help of machines. Now both of these have got their own advantages and limitations. Wherever manual work can be done, machine may have certain limitations. Wherever machine is successful, human beings or the manual task can have certain limitation. So we can compare that what are the areas where human beings are more capable, what are the areas where machines are more capable. So in today's session our target will be to focus on these two important points. and the title we have given is Human Aspects of Work Study, where we will see machine as a productive element, man as a productive element, and try to see the pros and cons, advantages and limitations, challenges and issues when we put man as a productive element vis-a-vis machine as a productive element. But prior to going to that discussion, let us first try to systematically see that what are the issues when we start doing work study in any organization. So quickly we will try to understand the human consideration in work study. Now, work study will be a powerful management tool to improve productivity only if, now the important point is only if, and this is a question mark. Why? Because the previous sentence we have already all of us agree that it is a powerful management tool to improve the productivity. Already 2 weeks of discussion we had on productivity, so many case studies we have discussed. I think all learners will agree that it is an important tool. Work study is an important tool which can help us to improve the productivity of our operations, of our organization. Only if, now this is possible only if a good relationship is established between the managers, supervisors and the employees, and I think I have already highlighted numerous times that it is the men or the human workforce or the human resource which leads to the success of the organization. So human resource can be men, women or the staff that is working for the organization. So we need to focus on the human resource effectively. We must focus on the human resource so that we are able to be profitable. So first point is very important, that although our management practices, our work study is going to lead us to improved productivity, but that is only possible if we focus on our human resource. Therefore, due consideration must be given to everyone concerned as an individual and should see that no one will perceive a threat to his security and self-respect. So we must properly give attention to each and every individual of the organization so that there is no threat to his security and self-respect. So that is one important point we must take into account, that the summary of this slide is that human resource is important and it must be given due importance. Now the relationship between work study and people, there can be 3 different levels in any organization. One is the management, then the supervisor and third are the workers. So we must be able to focus our attention on all these 3 levels of hierarchy in any organization. So work study and management, definitely there will be salient features that must be taken into account. At workers level also there must be salient maybe features or characteristics that must be addressed. So work study needs to emphasize on each and every hierarchical level in the organizational setup of any organization, and we will try to quickly see one by one that what is work study and the management point of view. Now work study, through the direct observation and analysis of a given situation, will show up any shortcomings in all activities affecting the productivity of the operations. Now when we will do work study, we will definitely come up with shortcoming. So that is the target of our activity, that is the target of this work study activity, the target of the work study program. Why the work study has to be done? We are analyzing the work to develop a new method, to develop a better method of doing the same task. So when we are doing any analysis, we will like to find out that what are the gray areas, what are the areas where time is being wasted, what are the areas where the human effort is being wasted, and try to rectify those, try to come up with a new method which is more effective, more efficient, more time saving, more safe as well as more economic. So we will try to find out the shortcomings. For example, idle time due to lack of materials. Maybe our supply of materials is not that regular, or the demand raised by a particular section for the materials is raised late, or there is a miscommunication between 2 different departments, maybe the actual shop floor as well as the materials management department. There can be n number of reasons, but there is idle time due to lack of materials, so that has to be taken care of. Frequent breakdown of a machine, that is maybe some technological changes are required to keep the machine up and running. So these are two problem areas which will be identified after the work study analysis. Since nobody likes to get exposed, therefore work study analyst has to be very tactful in handling the people, and it should be used with care. So when you are pointing out the problems, the summary of this slide is that the management has to be very tactful, very smart, because they are going to pinpoint the problem areas and going to establish the accountability and responsibility of the people who are not able to deliver as per requirement. So therefore they have to be very tactful, smart in establishing these problem areas as well as associating these problem areas, setting up the accountability and responsibility of the employees. So because when you point out at somebody, there can be excuses and the buck may be passed from one person to the other person to the other person. So when you are applying work study, you have to be very cautious. Then work study and the management, again we are continuing our discussion on the same topic. Therefore for work study analyst to be successful, support of top management is necessary, because work study is definitely going to pull the cat out of the box. So that is maybe just one analogy I have tried to draw. It is directly going to point out at the problem areas within the organization. So if it does not, work study team, work study analysts do not have the support of the top management, they may not be able to bring out the problem areas for the organization, will not be able to define new methods of doing the job. Therefore the top management support is very important. Also for this, he must run appreciation training programs on work study and inviting top bosses and COs or CFOs or CTOs. So top management support is mandatory for the success of work study. That is the summary of the last two slides. Now let us come to the training programs also. Now we can, maybe the top management can think of organizing, or I must not say can think, they will organize programs if they want to be successful or in their business, or if they want to be a successful organization. Now what are the various types of training programs that can be developed? So one can be very important, that is personality development. Then soft skills program can be run for the employees, product branding programs, study of behavior, fourth, team building, fifth. Then types of behavior can be studied for the employees. So different training programs can be conducted for the workers so that they feel associated with the organization. So management has a key role. Now first thing is, there are two important points here. Point number one is, the management must support the time study, or the not the time study only, the work study, which includes both the method and the time study or the work measurement. So the top management must support, that is number one. And the second point is that they must not only help the work study analyst to point out at the problem areas, but must also try to rectify these problem areas with the help of certain training programs. So the behavioral aspect of work study is very important in connection or in context of the top management. The top management has to ensure that the sequence of operations, the methods of operations, the way of doing the work is improved. There is a team which is able to pinpoint at the flaws or at the problem areas. The team is fully supported, fully backed by the top management, and when the problem areas are identified, the top management helps the employees to improve themselves by conducting time to time or maybe sequential training programs. Then coming on to the second important link between the top management and the worker, that is the roles of the supervisors. The hostile attitude of supervisor may be the most difficult problem for the work study analyst. So now we come to the middle level where the supervisor is coming into picture. Without the support of the supervisor, it will be difficult for the work study analyst to get work done effectively. People take their attitude from their bosses. So if the supervisor is non-cooperative, the workers will also be non-cooperative. If supervisor thinks that work study is nonsense, then workers will not cooperate with work study analyst in carrying out his suggestions. So we have seen that top management support, training programs conducted by the top management, that is the role of the top management in ensuring that the success of the work study team is ensured. From supervisor point of view, this slide is a negative slide. It is showing all the negative things related to the role of the supervisor in the work study analyst. But as a work study analyst, as an engineer, we have to impress upon him that how we can conduct this program, what are the benefits if this program is conducted. And if you remember, in this week only we have seen that what are the advantages of work study. So we need to impress upon the supervisors that if this study is conducted, it is not only beneficial for the workers, it is also beneficial for the supervisors also, it is beneficial for the top management, it is beneficial for the organization, it is beneficial for the state, it is beneficial for the country. So we need to impress upon the supervisors the importance of the work study program and the advantages of the work study program. The relationship between the management and the workers has to be reasonably good for the success of work study. So I think I have highlighted that supervisor is the key man. So we must be able to impress upon him the advantages. Then coming on to the workers, the relationship between the management and the workers has to be reasonably good for success of work study. Workers should have confidence on management sincerity towards them. So the workers must feel that the management is sincere about the concerns of the workers. They want the upliftment of the workers. They want their workers to be happy. There is no conflict of interest between the workers and the management. So the management, as we have seen in the previous discussion today, that must ensure that the workers have proper training, time to time training, workers are kept in good morale, they are having good motivation. That is the role of the management. And if the management is able to keep the workers in good stead, definitely the workers will feel empowered, they will feel happy, they will enjoy doing their work, and that will lead to the productivity or higher productivity of the organization. Now how they can achieve this thing, the management? This can be achieved by sound personal policy. Sound means a worker friendly policy, a good personal policy, an excellent personal policy. The HR policies of the management or HR policies of the organization must be addressing all the concerns of the workers working for the organization. So if all the concerns are taken care of, the workers will be more than happy to contribute to the success of the organization. So sound personal policy of management. Then the second thing is good working conditions must be ensured. Now good working conditions means we will see that when we are designing a work system for a worker, we must take care of his safety, we must take care of his maybe physical capability, we must take care of the environment that we are providing to the worker. Now for example, a worker is doing a very maybe intricate task, maybe he is fixing up the gears in the watches, wrist watches. Now it requires lot of concentration. So if we are able to provide an environment where there is no noise, there is no sound, then there is adequate lighting, illumination in the room or the workplace is very good, the worker will also feel maybe comfortable while doing his task. So the management must ensure that the workers are feeling comfortable while performing their task. The management has a sound or a good or an excellent personal policy, then the right attitude towards the workers. So the management must have maybe not happy is not the right word, I must say maybe feeling of belongingness must be developed, inculcated among the workers. So that is the role, that is you can say one of the core responsibilities of the management, to make their workers feel comfortable, to make their workers feel important, to make their workers feel empowered. So from the workers point of view, there are few things that must be taken into account if we want to realize the full potential of the work study program. Because what we are going to do in work study, we are going to have a team which is going to understand, which is going to record the way the work is being done, they are going to examine the way the work is being done, they are going to develop a new method of doing the work. The new method has to be, the benefits have to be measured, then this method has to be installed. And when the method will be installed, who has to follow this method? The workers have to follow this method. The management has to ensure a strict compliance of the method which has been developed. So the management, the supervisors, the workers are the key elements for the success of any work study program. So it cannot be done solely based on the machines. In many cases, only if the workers are not involved in the whole manufacturing process, maybe the human elements in work study can be slightly ignored. But in most of the companies we see that lot of human beings are involved, lot of workers are involved, starting from the worker level to the supervisory level to the management level to the strategic management level. So always there is a human intervention in the way the companies operate, and when the humans are working, we have to consider the effect of human behavior on the decision making process. And in this case also, whenever we propose a new way of doing the work, how the different hierarchical levels in the organizational setup are going to perceive that change, that is very, very important. That we have tried to understand in the last 15-20 minutes, that work study has a separate one-to-one relationship with management, work study has a relationship with supervisor also, work study program has a relationship with the workers also. And if this relationship is congenial, if it is good, it is friendly, management also likes work study program, supervisor also feels important with the work study program, workers also want to be a part of the work study program, automatically it will ensure of the work study program, it will ensure the success of the work study program. Now what is to be done by work study analyst? This is just maybe one guideline, because the work study analyst has to be in touch with the top management, with the supervisors, with the workers also. So what he must do? Win the confidence of supervisor by explaining about the work study. So first thing is, he has to win the confidence of the supervisor, who is a key man in any work study program. Never give direct order to the workers. That is one good practice. Seek supervisors' advice in selection of job for work study, which means that you involve the supervisor in the decision making process. Give importance to the supervisor, empower him. So if the supervisor feel empowered, he feels that I am a part of the work study program, he will definitely support the analysis, he will definitely give valuable inputs, because he is the first hand man who is seeing actually how the work is being done day in and day out. So that is very, very important. If supervisor becomes a part of the work study team, it is definitely going to add to the success of the program. Don't express opinion to workers about how work should be done on the shop floor. As a work study analyst, you must analyze the work, do the critical examination of the work, but do not pass any judgments on the shop floor, which is a good habit for any work study analyst. Avoid response to questions from workers beyond the scope of work study, because it may create an element of doubt in the minds of the workers. So therefore, the time study analyst must be very, very focused regarding the objective aim of the work study program at hand. Unnecessarily should not get involved in other question and answer sessions. Now quickly we will try to differentiate between man as a productive element and a machine as a productive element. Now, man as a productive element, we can see that man is responsible for three basic functions. What are these three basic functions? First is receive the information through sensory organs for seeing and hearing, making decision on the basis of information received, and acting according to their decision by performing various physical and mental tasks. Now, let us take a decision. Let us take an example. Suppose I get an intimation from the watch. If I look at the watch, or the teaching assistant shows me a placard showing 25 minutes are over. So, this is one information which I will receive by seeing at the placard. I have taken this information. Receiving of the information has been done. Then making a decision. Now, I have to see that I have 5 minutes or 6 minutes left. I have to cover this topic. I have to take a decision that how I must conduct myself so that my topic is covered within the stipulated time of 30 minutes. Then I will start my action. I will try to emphasize on the most important parts and try to finish the things within the next 5 to 6 minutes. So, that means that I, as a man, as a productive element, I will receive the information, I will make certain decisions based on that information, and then I will act accordingly. Similarly, a man working on the shop floor will also receive some information. It can be in the form of a drawing. He will look at the drawing that 4 holes have to be made in this plate. So, that is the receipt of the information. Then he will take a decision that which drill I must use, what is the speed and feed combination that I must use, and then after that selection he will act. He will put the plate on the drilling machine, fix the size of the drill and start the operation, and that is coming under the action state. Now, these are the three basic functions that the man usually do on any shop floor or in any decision making process. Now, let us see that as a man what are the advantages as a productive element. So, if a man is given a task, what are the advantages? We can see the first thing is the flexibility in working. First thing is the flexibility. Second is the intelligence in working, that is in case of any problem a man can quickly react and take a decision that how to save the situation, how to prevent the situation. But a machine may not be able to take a decision as quickly as a human being can take. Then can adapt to the working environment and changing conditions easily. Now, suppose there is maybe a temperature is going beyond a particular level, the machine will stop, but a man can take a decision that he can open a window so that the temperature comes to the normal condition. So, a person can use his judgment as per the condition and can adapt to the working environment and changing conditions easily. So, we can say man is more adaptable as compared to machines. Can design various tools and machines and methods to reduce the work content. So, we have already seen what do we mean by work content. So, a man can design various tools and techniques to reduce the work content, and in all man is a innovator. So, man is an innovator, he can innovate as per requirement, but a machine cannot innovate. So, these are the advantages if we use a man as a productive element. If we assign task to a man, these are the advantages that we can derive. But there are certain flip sides also. First thing is cannot apply huge amount of physical force and pressure. Machines can do that. Machine can apply as much force and pressure as possible. We can do that, but that is one maybe flip side of man. Second is cannot use muscular power with fixed intensity and high accuracy. Now, suppose I am asked to speak for 5 hours at a stretch. Maybe for the first hour I will be speaking quite loudly. Maybe at the end of 5th hour my voice may be feeble, it may not be that loud. So, a man cannot apply muscular force with the same intensity and accuracy for a long period of time. Cannot perform simple repetitive movements rapidly and accurately. if you start uttering the same word, maybe I tell you that you utter it 1,000,000 times, maybe after few thousand times you may not be able to speak it that correctly. So that is simple repetitive movement, that is the movement of the lips. You are uttering the same word again and again, maybe after 1,000 times, 2,000 times you may start faltering. So the man cannot do the repetitive, whereas a machine, you give the task for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, maybe 2 months, it can do the same repetitive task again and again. Then what is the other limitation of man? Cannot respond rapidly to frequently changing control signals. So if there are control signals are changing too frequently, it becomes sometimes difficult for a man. Suppose maybe if I am in an interview, 3 people are continuously asking questions, maybe I am trying to answer a question, there is a new question that is asked, so I may not be able to adapt to these type of change in the control signals. So that is one limitation of man. Then cannot function satisfactorily in working environment in which conditions go beyond the natural limits. So maybe if the temperature is 70 degrees Celsius, so it may not be possible, or on the other side the temperature is sub-zero temperature, maybe beyond the natural limits when the environmental conditions will go, it becomes difficult for man to operate. But the machines can be designed to operate in these type of conditions. So whatever are the advantages of man, that will become the disadvantages of the machine, and whatever are the disadvantages of man as a productive element, that will become the advantages or the areas where the machines can be used. So quickly now let us summarize advantages of machine as the productive element, where machines are more applicable. Can be used to apply huge amounts of force with fixed intensity and accuracy, so which is a limitation of man as a productive element, but it is an advantage in case of machines. Can perform repetitive movements without fatigue, so machine can do the same task again and again n number of times. Can be used for doing complex calculations rapidly and accurately. Computers do such nice calculations for us, which it sometimes become difficult for human beings to accomplish. Can perform various tasks simultaneously, which is very difficult for human beings, but not at all difficult for the machines. Can function in conditions which are beyond the natural limit, so the machines can be designed to work in difficult environmental conditions. Then what are the disadvantages of machines? So naturally these are the advantages of man as the productive element. So disadvantages of machine as the productive element are machines are less flexible and have fixed area of expertise. Man is flexible, he can be taken from one particular job and put to the task in the other job, but machines are less flexible as compared to human beings. Machines do not have intelligence and cannot respond in accordance with the environment, but I slightly disagree with this. These days with the advent of artificial intelligence tools, machines are also being developed which are very intelligent, but not as intelligent as human beings. Can survive only in standardized condition, otherwise it leads to wear and tear of the machine. So whatever are the conditions for which the machines have been designed, they can operate reliably and successfully in those conditions only. If you take them beyond those conditions, wear and tear will lead to the failure of the machine element. So that is one limitation of the machines. Machines cannot adapt to changing conditions easily, whereas human beings can do that, and machine is not an innovator. So machine can do the task for which it has been trained, for which it has been designed, but it cannot adapt to so many changing environment, cannot take decisions that quickly and that creatively as a human being can. So machine is not an innovator. So in the end we can conclude that in today's session we have tried to cover two important aspects, that how is work study related to the human behavior, that is management, supervisor and workers. What are the issues to be taken into account, and then what are the good habits that any time study or work study analyst must practice in order to run a successful work study program. And finally we have seen that in case of work study, both a worker and a machine can be used as the productive elements, and what are the relative advantages and disadvantages of using machines and men as the productive element. So advantages and disadvantages of man and machine as a productive element help us to decide the sequence of various operations in the production system. In summary, we can say it will help us to decide that what work must be done by machine and where man will be more successful. So machines are not as creative and innovative as human beings. So we cannot undermine the importance of human resource for any organization, and human resource is definitely going to help in the success of the organization as well as in the successful implementation of any work study program. So with this we conclude the third week of our discussion, and in this week our focus was to understand the basic aspects and basic concepts of work study. In next week, our focus will primarily be to learn the various tools and techniques that are employed for conducting a successful work study program. Thank you.